Hello YouTube, Blue State Refugee here. Today we're going to make some comfort food. In the 2-quart saucepan I've already rendered down about 1/3 pound of bacon. And we're going to start to make a roux, and that's going to allow us to make some macaroni and cheese with bacon. And the way I like to also make it is I also add some onions and some usually jalapenos, but these are peppers out of the garden, and they're pretty spicy. They're about on par with the jalapeno. So we've got the bacon drippings in there remaining. We're going to use that as part of the roux. So first things first, we're going to get and sweat down our vegetables. Also helps to deglaze the bottom of the pan from all those little delicious bacon bits that are going to add nothing but flavor to the end result. Now I've already cooked a pound of macaroni, and I don't know if I'm going to use it all because I'm not quite sure if I'm going to have enough sauce for all of the macaroni, and I can always use macaroni for something else. Basically, like I said, we're going to sweat this down. As you see, it's starting to smell very nice. And to that, we're going to add enough butter to give us, when we're done, 4 tablespoons of oil for our roux. So I'm going to go from there. Now, in case you're wondering, this is not the low-fat variety of macaroni and cheese. I make this for my wife every once in a while. It makes her happy, and that makes me happy. So I like the onions and the peppers to not be totally mushy. So we just cook them a little bit. We'll let this butter melt completely. Bring it up to a little bit of a bubble. We have it on between medium and medium high on the heat. Now what I'm using for cheese is I picked up an 8-ounce package of a Colby Monterey Jack blend, and I'm also trying something different. Now normally in my mac and cheese I use sour cream because I like that tanginess, but instead of doing that, I decided that instead of using a pound of cheese, I was only going to use an 8-ounce block, and then I was going to try an 8-ounce brick of the Greek cream cheese. And as I was cutting that up a little bit earlier, I tasted it, and it does have a very nice tangy flavor. So I'm hoping that that'll add some additional creaminess to the end result. And we've got all the little brown bits on the bottom of the pan are all suspended in the oil for our roux, and that's going to really add tons and tons of flavor. Now I'm not going to add salt to this recipe because not only is the bacon and the bacon dripping salty, but I cook my macaroni in salted water, and it always comes out very nice seasoned. So really, for this recipe, I'm sure that you could add whatever you want, but I'm going to just add some crushed black pepper, and I would have added white pepper, but I can't seem to find it. And now our oil is bubbling, which is very good. As you can see, we got some bubbling going on there. Now it's going to be time to add our flour. Now what I generally use is Wondra. I like it because it seems to not clump up a lot like all-purpose flour. So I got 4 tablespoons of that in here, and we're going to dump that in. And we want to cook this a little bit to take the raw flavor off of it. And we're going to get our whisk going. Now you can make a blonde roux, or you can cook it a little more and make it like a peanut butter color. I think it looks fabulous, just like that. So, I'm going to turn this heat down just a touch to medium. And we're going to add our milk. Now I am using just regular old whole milk. And I'm going to put 2 cups to start. Okay. So, we get that out of the way. Put the top on this and slide this out of our way. We'll go ahead and come back and whisk this. Now this is also the time when we're going to start adding our cheese. And I have my Colby Monterey Jack cut in little blocks. I could have shredded it so that it melts faster, but this will work. And we're going to then also put in that cream cheese that I told you about, the Greek style. I cut that into little blocks as well. I'm going to get that in there, get that all incorporated. And once we get this all melted and just lovely, then we'll add the bacon that I rendered. We'll put that in the big Tupperware mixing bowl here, and then we'll add enough macaroni so that it looks just about right. Now when you make fondue and you're melting, you generally go in a figure-8 pattern to make sure that the cheese doesn't get all gummed up and doesn't stick properly. And this is almost like a fondue, except there's no kirsch, and we don't put the vegetables, the onions and the peppers in the fondue. And this goes pretty fast. We can bump the heat up just a touch now that we've got the milk in there. I didn't want to burn the roux at first. Now we come back and put a little more heat to her, help the cheese to melt better. It would appear that the cream cheese is obviously going to melt fast, and that's already pretty much happened. Now we're just working on the Colby Monterey Jack blend. Now you could use, I've used a nice sharp Vermont white cheddar by Cabot, which I really like. They make a Hunter's sharp, a Hunter's cheddar, I think I've seen it. It has a plaid, covering, and that is extremely sharp. But if that's not your thing, obviously you can use whatever makes you happy. If you're going to go with an Italian theme, maybe some Fontina. Or if you want to go with a like a Swiss Emmentaler and Gruyere, like you would make for a fondue, then that would work out real well. Both of those cheeses are extremely good, and they have kind of a nutty flavor, which a lot of people like. Now, I'm not particular whether or not my cheese sauce is white or yellow or any of that. I just want it to be good and cheesy, and it appears that we have something that's going to be extremely delicious. It's getting very thick now. I'm almost tempted to add just a splash more milk, which I think I'll do. Remember, this is not like baking. This is not an exact science. This is just, you go by feel. That's much better, yes. And then it has to come up to full temperature in order for the full thickening of the roux to kick in and give this a nice tight glossy appearance. I think this is a good time to put the pepper in. I'm going to crack a few turns. Now if I hadn't put the the hot peppers from the garden in, I probably would put a little cayenne in right now. I think cayenne and cheese go wonderful together. And we almost have everything melted. Go around, break everything up. So I got a little piece of cheese inside my whisk. I'm sure that'll melt away in a minute. Now we want to test this for seasoning real quick. I'm going to get a spoon out. Coats the back of the spoon nicely. And that tastes delicious. That is really, really good. The garden peppers are very, they're not spicy, not like really hot rod spicy, but they add a nice little, and the cream cheese with the Greek style, I think this is going to be my new way to make it. Because I like the tanginess that gives. I really do. And that's just about done right there. Got another little bit of cheese to melt, and that's gonna be good. I'm gonna turn this to low, and I have, like I said, I have my Tupperware. I'm gonna get my whisk out of here real quick. I'm hoping this bowl is gonna be big enough. We're gonna put our cheese sauce in. I normally use a huge bowl, but I don't have it anymore. I have to pick one up, a big plastic bowl for mixing. Very convenient. Okay, turn that off. I'm going to adjust our camera just a little bit. We're going to bring you up so you can see the mixing bowl with the cheese. And we're going to zoom in on that a little bit. There you go. Excuse my amateur camera work. At this point, we're going to add our bacon into our mixture. Okay. I'm going to fold that around a little bit. And we're going to see how much of this macaroni that we have here is going to be able to be absorbed. I think I might get the whole thing in there. Now, I didn't rinse this. I generally don't like to rinse my macaroni, or I don't cook it with olive oil or any kind of oil as I go. So let's see how that looks. Ideally, we want the pasta to be al dente, because we want it to finish cooking in this delicious cheese sauce that we're putting into it. It's going to fill all the little holes in the elbows, and that way it almost becomes a homogeneous dish. And we're going to bake this in the oven. Get the oven preheated now to 350. We're going to bake this in a 9x13 pan, and I think we can get the rest of that macaroni in there now. Like I said, that was a full 16 ounces of, I don't know, it was like a cavatelli or something. It was a little curly Q, tubular, kind of like an elbow, but a little bit bigger. I thought it looked kind of fancy. Thought it would be nice. Obviously, you could use it with just regular elbows. I'm going to fold all that in. And this, like I said, pardon me, is really, really good comfort food. And with the bacon and the peppers just launches it into a new dimension. So I've got my 9x13 pan over here. I'm going to set that down. We're going to hit it with a little non-stick spray. Okay. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. There's the pan. Nope, we don't want to zoom in. We'll zoom out. Again, just pardon my amateur camera work. And all it remains now is to get this in to our 9x13 dish. A lot of people cover this with a panko breadcrumb or any other type of breadcrumb. I'm not a big fan of that because I like for some reason, I like the texture of the crispy macaroni and the cheese as it bakes. It's like, you know, everybody likes the corner pieces on lasagna for the same reason. Well, I think this gives you more corner pieces because you have more surface area. And we're just going to spread that out. And that looks pretty darn good. Okay, we're going to let our oven come up to temperature. We're going to get it in there for about 35 minutes. And then what we'll do is we'll bring you back then. All right? Hello YouTube, we're back. In the half hour that we've been gone, I brewed up a French press full of Black Rifle coffee Beyond Black, and it tastes delicious. So before we left, I indicated that we were going to, oh, let me shut that off. I indicated that we were going to bake this in the oven at 350. That was somewhat of an exaggeration. I usually start the mac and cheese at 400 and let it go about half the cooking time. In this case, it was 30 minutes, and then I turn it down to 350. And this is where we're at right now. So we're going to open this up, and there she is. Pan of goodness. Now you notice that it's really crispy on the top here, and it's going to be nice and crispy in obviously the four corners. So we're going to let this cool. Turn this oven off. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. On this Independence Day, it's important more than ever to think free and act free to someday truly be free. Long live the Republic.